Diary of Day 8 report, I sacrificed myself for them. The echo of a general who scorned humanity. The chamber hummed with a low, resonant pulse, as if the walls themselves breathed the weight of 1,000 wars. Thalrok, towering at 8 feet, his silver-gray skin etched with scars beneath his bioarmor, stood rigid before the Dravari High Council. His golden eyes burned with contempt, fixed on the obsidian dais where the elders sat. The air was heavy, thick with the scent of ionized metal and the faint glow of bioluminescent vines crawling across the ceiling. In 3 sentences, he would condemn an entire species. Humans are parasites, he declared, his voice a low growl that echoed through the chamber. They drain oceans, burn forests, and sow blood across their cradle world. Their so-called civilization is a cancer on the galaxy. The elders, their own eyes glinting like polished amber, nodded in agreement, their silence amplifying the weight of his words. For the Dravari, a race forged in discipline and survival, humanity was a chaotic blight, unworthy of alliance against the looming threat of the Kharon Empire. The lead elder, Vorin, leaned forward, his skeletal frame draped in ceremonial robes that shimmered like liquid starlight. Thalrok, you are our finest observer, he said, his voice a dry rasp. Go to the Red Ember, watch these creatures, and bring us proof of their unworthiness. Thalrok's jaw tightened. The Red Ember, a barren, dust-choked planet where humans clung to survival, was no place for a Dravari general. This mission felt like exile, a punishment for his outspoken disdain. He bowed, the plates of his bioarmor grinding softly, and turned toward the chamber's exit. The doors, carved with the sigils of 100 Dravari victories, parted with a hiss. Beyond them, the command ship awaited, a sleek monolith orbiting the Dravari homeworld, its hull pulsing with faint green light. Thalrok's boots thudded against the polished floor, each step a reminder of his duty to his people. Aboard the ship, Thalrok stood alone in the observation deck, staring at the starfield through a crystalline viewport. The galaxy sprawled before him, a tapestry of light and shadow, but his thoughts were consumed by the task ahead. The Kharon Empire, a merciless force of conquest, had already devoured 3 systems in the past cycle. Their biomechanical fleets left nothing but ash and silence. The Dravari needed allies, but humanity? Thalrok clenched a fist, his talons scraping against his palm. He recalled the archives, images of Earth's scorched landscapes, cities drowned in smog, and wars that bled entire continents dry. How could such a species stand against the Kharon? They were too fractured, too reckless. He activated a holo display, pulling up reports of human activity on the Red Ember. The data flickered. Supply convoys, makeshift bases, and skirmishes with Kharon scouts. Chaotic as expected. General Thalrok, a voice interrupted, sharp and synthetic. It was the ship's AI, its core embedded in the walls like a living nerve. The Council has transmitted your orders. You are to document every human failure, every flaw. Thalrok's lip curled. As if I need reminding, he muttered. He ran a hand over his bioarmor, checking the seals. The suit, grown from the hides of Dravari war beasts, was scarred from battles across a dozen worlds. Each mark told a story of survival, of loyalty to his kind. He adjusted the neural link at his temple, syncing it with the armor's sensors. The Red Ember was 72 light hours away, a 3-day journey at maximum warp. He would arrive at dawn, local time, when the planet's twin moons cast their eerie glow. The ship's engines thrummed as it prepared for departure. Thalrok moved to the armory, where his weapons hung in perfect alignment. A plasma lance, a graviton pistol, and a curved blade etched with his clan's crest. He selected only the pistol, its weight familiar in his grip. This was no combat mission, but he would not walk among humans unarmed. Their unpredictability was their only consistent trait. He recalled a report of a human soldier laughing in the face of death, moments before a Kharon drone tore him apart. Madness, Thalrok thought. No, Dravari would waste breath on such futility. He secured the pistol to his thigh and returned to the bridge, where the crew awaited his command. Set course for the Red Ember, he ordered, his voice steady despite the churn in his gut. The crew, clad in lighter bioarmor, moved with precision, their hands dancing over glowing consoles. The ship shuddered as it broke orbit, the stars blurring into streaks of light. Thalrok stood at the helm, his reflection faint in the viewport. His broad shoulders, the jagged scar across his brow, and the faint glow of his eyes marked him as a warrior, not a diplomat. Yet here he was, sent to babysit a species he despised. The Council's logic was clear. If humans proved unworthy, the Dravari would face the Kharon alone. If they showed value, an alliance might be forged. Thalrok scoffed at the thought. Value in creatures who burn their own home? As the ship entered warp, Thalrok retreated to his quarters, a Spartan chamber of black metal and dim lights. He opened a data slate, reviewing the Council's directive one last time. Observe their weaknesses, it read. Expose their chaos. He traced a talon over the words, his mind drifting to the Kharon. Their drones had once ambushed his unit on a fringe world, leaving only him alive. The memory fueled his resolve. He would find every flaw in humanity, every reason to reject them. The slate chimed, displaying the estimated arrival time. 600 hours. Red Ember standard. Thalrok set it aside and closed his eyes, though sleep would not come. His thoughts churned with images of human cities in ruin, their skies choked with ash. Whatever awaited him on the Red Ember, he would be ready. He was Dravari, and his loyalty was ironclad. The ship's hum grew louder, a reminder of the journey ahead. Thalrok stood, his shadow looming across the chamber. He checked his armor once more, ensuring every plate was secure. The Red Ember would test his patience, but he would endure. He always had. The humans would reveal their true nature, and he would be there to document their fall. The galaxy demanded order, and Thalrok would see it upheld. As the ship hurtled through the void, he steeled himself for what lay ahead. A world of dust, blood, and human chaos, where his mission would begin. The Red Ember's crimson sands smothered starlight, a wasteland primed for humanity's collapse. Thalrok, the Dravari general, would see their recklessness exposed. His shuttle touched down in 400 hours, thrusters spitting clouds of rust-colored dust that lashed his Giap Sin Hawk. The armor hummed, its scarred surface shrugging off the biting grit. He stepped onto the coarse sand, the air thick with iron oxide. His golden eyes swept the horizon, locking onto the flickering lights of human encampments, scattered like debris across the desert. He gripped his plasma lance, claws digging into its handle. These creatures, clawing at the stars, were a mockery of order. Thalrok glided silently through the dunes, a shadow among shadows. The human camp sprawled in a shallow crater, a chaotic sprawl of canvas tents and prefab shelters. Soldiers stumbled about, their voices grating, raucous laughter, shouted curses, and the clatter of dropped gear. One human, a wiry soldier with a rifle slung carelessly, kicked an empty fuel canister into a fire pit. It sparked, flames licking the air as he guffawed, oblivious to the waste. Another tossed a half-eaten ration bar into the sand, its wrapper flapping in the wind. Thalrok's HUD flickered, logging the axe. Day 3, 0430 hours. Humans squander fuel and food, inviting chaos. His voice was a low growl, thick with contempt. Their patrols were a farce, meandering without formation. Two soldiers shoved each other over a crate of ammo, their argument echoing across the camp. "That's my share, you cheat," one barked, snatching bullets while the other laughed mockingly. Nearby, a third soldier sprawled on a crate, singing a tuneless song about lost love, his voice cracking as he swigged from a dented flask. Thalrok's lip curled. The Dravari moved as one, their discipline forged in centuries of war. These humans were a rabble, their noise a beacon for predators. He crept closer, staying low, his armor deflecting sand whipped by the wind. The camp's perimeter was a sieve, gaps wide enough for Kharon drones to swarm through. Thalrok logged this, his claws tapping his wrist display. A human officer barked orders near a rusted vehicle, her voice sharp but ignored by subordinates who lounged against crates, joking. He recognized her. Captain Aria Kane, commander of this disorderly unit. She was small, her authority undermined by the casual shrugs of her troops. Thalrok dismissed her. A leader who failed to command respect was no leader. He recorded, "They defy their chain of command, weak and fractious." The wind carried the hum of Kharon scouts 10 kilometers out. Thalrok's sensors pinged their biomechanical signatures. The humans, oblivious, continued their racket. One soldier tripped over a tent peg, spilling a crate of batteries that rolled into the sand. He cursed, kicking the crate, scattering more. Another group huddled around a flickering holoscreen, betting loudly on some trivial game, their shouts drowning out the hum of approaching danger. Thalrok considered a warning, then stopped. Their destruction would prove his case. He moved along the camp's edge, sand stinging his visor. A patrol of 3 soldiers shuffled past 50 meters away, rifles dangling loosely. One, a lanky man with a patchy beard, spat into the dust, complaining about the heat. "Why are we even here?" he muttered, scuffing his boots through a pile of discarded wrappers. Thalrok froze, his armor's camouflage blending with the rock. The soldier glanced his way, squinting, but saw nothing. Thalrok's claws twitched over his disruptor. One shot would silence this fool, but orders held: observe, do not engage. He logged, "They litter their camp, blind to threats." The camp buzzed with wasteful activity. Mechanics hammered at a vehicle, leaving tools scattered on the ground. One dropped a wrench, laughed, and left it in the sand. A medic fumbled a crate of bandages, spilling half into the dust before shrugging and moving on. Thalrok estimated their strength: 300 soldiers, 20 vehicles, a handful of turrets, pathetic against the Kharon. He overheard talk of a lost squad. "Earth sending more," a soldier said, tossing a broken radio into a pile of junk. Thalrok's eyes narrowed. Reinforcements? Blind optimism. From a ridge, he recorded, "Their numbers are few, their actions wasteful. They court defeat with every careless act." The twin moons cast a faint glow, illuminating tents, flapping unsecured. Soldiers tripping over cables. One human tossed a lit flare into the sand for amusement, its glow drawing Thalrok's scorn. They were no match for the Kharon, whose fleets obliterated worlds. He pictured their camp in ashes, their chaos, their undoing. Their laughter, their defiance, grated against his Dravari sensibilities. He pushed the irritation aside, focusing on his mission. Kharon's signatures closed to 8 kilometers. His HUD flashed. Ambush likely within 12 hours. Thalrok dismissed, alerting them. Their failure was his evidence. A soldier wandered close, muttering about the wind, rifle slung carelessly. "Anyone out there?" he called, voice shaky. Thalrok held still, camouflage active. The soldier spat again, turned back. Thalrok logged, "They desecrate their ground, unaware of danger." As dawn neared, the camp stirred. Arya Kane's voice cut through. "Turrets online! Kharon's out there!" Thalrok paused, noting her alertness, but it changed nothing. They were reckless, doomed. He settled into his perch, ready to watch their ruin unfold. The Kharon struck at 0300 hours, their bombs tearing the Red Ember sands asunder. Thalrok, the Dravari observer, would see humanity's chaos consume them. The first explosion rocked the desert, a deafening roar that flung Thalrok from his perch. His Gaiop Sin Hawk cracked, jagged shards of organic armor splintering across his chest. He hit the ground hard, crimson sand mixing with the blood seeping from a gash on his shoulder. Pain seared through him, but his golden eyes burned with defiance. Around him, the human camp dissolved into pandemonium. Soldiers scrambled, shouting, their silhouettes darting through plumes of smoke and fire. Thalrok dragged himself behind a shattered boulder, his claws scraping the earth. "Fools," he muttered, voice thick with contempt. "They invite their destruction." The air vibrated with the hum of Kharon drones, their biomechanical forms glinting under the twin moons. Another blast erupted 100 meters away, showering the ground with molten debris. Thalrok's HUD flickered, warning of critical damage to his armor. 62% integrity. He ignored it, crawling through the rubble, sand stinging his exposed skin. Humans ran in every direction, some clutching rifles, others abandoning gear in blind panic. One soldier tripped over a crate, screaming as shrapnel tore through his leg. Thalrok's recorder whirred. "Day 3, 0315 hours. Humans scatter like vermin under Kharon's assault. No cohesion, no strategy." His disdain deepened, their disorder proving his judgment. Kharon artillery screamed overhead, each shell carving craters in the desert. Thalrok rolled into a ditch, narrowly dodging a plasma bolt that scorched the sand where he'd lain. His plasma lance was useless, its power cell damaged in the fall. He cursed under his breath, claws digging into the earth. The human's turrets sputtered to life, firing wildly into the dark, their shots missing the darting Kharon drones. A squad of soldiers huddled nearby, shouting over the chaos. "Fall back! Regroup at the ridge!" one yelled, voice cracking. Thalrok sneered. Retreat was all they knew. Through the smoke, he glimpsed Captain Arya Kane, her silhouette cutting through the haze. She dragged a wounded soldier to cover, her movements precise despite the madness. Thalrok watched, grudgingly noting her resolve. But it meant nothing. Her kind was still weak. Another explosion shook the ground, 50 meters out, sending a wave of heat that singed his armor. He pressed himself lower, blood pooling beneath him. The Kharon pressed harder, their drones weaving through the camp, slicing tents with laser fire. Humans screamed, some firing blindly, others fleeing into the open desert. Thalrok's lips curled. "Let them die," he growled, refusing the urge to act. A human soldier stumbled toward him, eyes wide with panic. "Help us!" the man shouted, reaching out. Thalrok swatted the hand away, his claws grazing the soldier's arm. "Stay back," he snarled, voice like gravel. The man recoiled, scrambling away as another blast lit the sky. Thalrok's recorder captured it. "They beg aid from their betters, yet offer nothing." His wounds throbbed, but he forced himself to move, crawling through the ditch. The Kharon's assault was relentless, their drones circling like predators. The human camp was crumbling, tents ablaze, vehicles overturned. He estimated 30% of their forces were already lost. Arya's voice cut through the din, sharp and commanding. "Hold the line! Protect the med bay!" She stood atop a crate, firing a rifle into the swarm. Her soldiers rallied, some dragging wounded to safety, others manning the faltering turrets. Thalrok paused, his golden eyes narrowing. Their defiance was futile, yet persistent. A Kharon drone swooped low, its blades slicing a soldier in half. Blood sprayed the sand, and Thalrok turned away, unmoved. "They die as they live, chaotic," he muttered, dragging himself toward a collapsed tent for cover. The ground shook again, a shell landing 20 meters away. Thalrok's HUD flashed, Kharon ground units approaching, 2 kilometers out. The humans were pinned, their defenses buckling. He could see their line breaking, soldiers abandoning posts to save themselves. One ran past, dropping his rifle in the sand, screaming about the end. Thalrok's contempt surged. The Dravari would never break like this. His people fought as one, even in defeat. He gripped a jagged piece of his shattered armor, using it to brace himself as he crawled forward. The humans' cries filled the air, a cacophony of fear and desperation. Another drone screamed overhead, its laser cutting a swath through a cluster of tents. Thalrok ducked, sand and ash raining down. He glanced at the humans' medbay, a prefab structure now half collapsed. Medics scrambled inside, pulling bodies from the wreckage. One, a woman with steady hands, worked under fire, tying a tourniquet on a screaming soldier. Thalrok's recorder whirred, "Some show resilience, but it is fleeting." He refused to acknowledge their effort. They were still a rabble, doomed by their nature. The Kharon's assault tightened, drones and artillery converging. Thalrok's sensors estimated 10 minutes until the camp was overrun. He could escape, slip into the desert, and complete his mission from afar. Yet he stayed, watching the humans fight and fall. Arya Kane fired again, downing a drone in a burst of sparks. Her soldiers, battered and bloodied, formed a ragged line around the medbay. Thalrok's claws dug into the sand. Why did they not flee? Their resistance was pointless, their death certain. Yet they fought, shouting defiance into the firestorm. He dragged himself to a new vantage point, pain lancing through his side. The camp was a graveyard of burning wreckage, bodies strewn among the rubble. The Kharon were closing, their ground units' hum growing louder. Thalrok's HUD flickered, warning of blood loss. He ignored it, focusing on the humans' collapse. They were proving his point, yet their stubbornness gnawed at him. He shook his head, blood dripping onto the sand. "They cling to hope," he muttered, voice hoarse. It will bury them. The battle raged on, the humans' line teetering on the edge of annihilation. Blood seeped from the gash in Thalrok's shoulder, staining the crimson sand as he dragged himself through the chaos. The Kharon's relentless assault would prove humanity's weakness, and he would live to report it, or so he told himself. His Giap Sin Hawk, cracked and sparking, clung to his frame, its diagnostics flashing 58% integrity on his HUD. He clawed through the coarse sand, each movement a spike of pain, as the second Kharon bomb detonated 20 meters away at 03 to 20 hours. The blast threw him flat, his massive form slamming into a jagged slab of rock. Dust and ash choked the air, the twin moon's faint glow swallowed by swirling cinders. Thalrok's breath rasped, his golden eyes flickering with defiance. He was a Dravari general, not prey to be slaughtered in this wasteland. Yet the thought crept in. This might be his grave. Around him, the human camp was a slaughterhouse. Soldiers scrambled in retreat, dragging wounded comrades or abandoning them in panic. Thalrok watched a squad of 6 take cover behind a wrecked vehicle, only for a Kharon plasma shell to vaporize them in a flash of violet light. Their screams cut off abruptly, leaving only smoldering metal and charred remains. He logged it, voice steady despite the pain. Day 3, 0322 hours, human squad eradicated. No discipline, no survival. His contempt surged, but his body betrayed him, limbs heavy, blood pooling beneath. The Kharon drones buzzed closer, their biomechanical hum a death knell over the desert. Thalrok crawled toward a collapsed tent, its canvas flapping in the scorching wind. Another explosion rocked the ground, 30 meters out, showering him with glowing shrapnel. He pressed himself low, claws digging into the sand. The humans' retreat was a rout, their shouts a chaotic blend of orders and terror. One soldier, face streaked with soot, sprinted past, dropping his rifle in his haste. "We're done for!" he screamed, vanishing into the smoke. Thalrok's lip curled. The Dravari would have stood their ground, fought as one. These humans scattered like insects, proving his judgment. Through the haze, he saw Captain Arya Kane, her silhouette darting between burning wreckage. She hauled a wounded soldier to safety, her voice barking orders to hold the medbay. Her resolve was pointless, Thalrok thought, yet it gnawed at him. He shook his head, blood dripping onto his cracked armor. A Kharon drone swooped low, its laser slicing through a tent 15 meters away, igniting it in a burst of flame. Thalrok rolled into a shallow ditch, pain lancing through his shoulder. His HUD warned of critical blood loss, but he silenced it. He would not die here, not among these failures. A human soldier stumbled toward him, a young man with wide, frantic eyes. You're alive, come with us, he shouted, reaching out. Thalrok swatted the hand away, claws grazing the man's wrist. "Leave me," he snarled, voice like a blade. The soldier flinched, backing off as another blast shook the ground. Thalrok's recorder whirred. They offer aid to a stranger, wasting effort. He dragged himself deeper into the ditch, sand mixing with his blood. The Kharon's assault tightened, their ground units now 1.5 kilometers out, their metallic clatter audible through the din. The humans' medbay, a crumbling prefab structure, stood 50 meters away, its walls pocked by shrapnel. Medics worked frantically, dragging bodies inside as shells fell closer. One medic, a woman with steady hands, knelt over a screaming soldier, tying a tourniquet under fire. Thalrok watched, his golden eyes narrowing. Why risk themselves for the dying? It was illogical, a flaw in their nature. Another drone screamed overhead, its laser cutting down 2 soldiers sprinting for cover. Their bodies hit the sand, lifeless, and Thalrok turned away. They die needlessly, he muttered, claws scraping the ditch's edge. The Kharon's next wave loomed, their drones circling tighter, ground units closing to 1 kilometer. Thalrok's sensors estimated 8 minutes until total overrun. He could slip into the desert, vanish into the dunes, and survive to report humanity's collapse. Yet he stayed, pinned by wounds and his mission. The humans' cries filled the air, a chorus of fear and defiance. Arya's voice rose again. "Hold the bay! We don't leave our own!" Her soldiers, battered and bleeding, rallied around the structure, firing into the swarm. Thalrok's claws tightened. Their resistance was futile, their death certain. Why did they not flee? A shell landed 25 meters away, the shock wave slamming Thalrok against the ditch's wall. His vision blurred, blood loss sapping his strength. He forced himself to move, dragging his body through the sand. The camp was a graveyard, tents ablaze, vehicles reduced to twisted husks. A soldier crawled nearby, leg mangled, whimpering for help. Thalrok ignored him, focusing on his survival. Another human approached, a grizzled man with a medkit. "Let me patch you up," he called. Thalrok bared his teeth, voice a low growl. "Stay away." The man hesitated, then ran as a drone's laser lit the sky. Thalrok's HUD flickered, warning of approaching Kharon infantry. Their biomechanical forms emerged from the smoke, 800 meters out, their blades glinting. The humans' turrets were silent, either destroyed or abandoned. He estimated 40% of their forces were gone, the rest pinned or fleeing. Yet Arya and her core unit held the medbay, their fire sporadic but unbroken. Thalrok's recorder captured his final note. They cling to a lost cause, blind to defeat. His shoulder throbbed, his armor sparking with each movement. He was a warrior, not a corpse to be buried here. But the sand felt heavier, the pain sharper. The Kharon drones tightened their arc, their lasers carving through the last human defenses. Thalrok's breath slowed, his body slumping against the ditch's edge. He pictured the council, his report of humanity's failure. They would see the truth. These creatures were unfit for the stars. Yet as he watched Arya drag another wounded soldier to safety, a flicker of doubt stirred. He crushed it, focusing on the blood pooling beneath him. The Kharon were coming, and the humans would break. He would live to see it, or so he hoped. The Kharon's bombs painted the Red Ember's sands with fire, yet a human's hand reached through the chaos. Thalrok, broken and bleeding, would learn their defiance in the face of death. At 330 hours, the desert burned, smoke choking the air, as Thalrok lay slumped in a ditch, his Giap Sin Hawk shattered, exposing blood-slicked, silver-gray skin. His shoulder wound pulsed, each heartbeat spilling more life into the sand. His HUD flickered, warning of 42% armor integrity and critical blood loss. The Kharon drones circled closer, their lasers slicing through the human camp's remains. Thalrok's golden eyes dimmed, his claws scraping weakly at the dirt. He was a Dravari general, not meant to die among these reckless creatures. Yet as the ground shook from distant blasts, he felt the end closing in. Through the haze, a figure sprinted toward him. Captain Arya Kane, her short black hair plastered with ash, her scarred face set with grim resolve. She slid into the ditch, dodging a laser burst that scorched the sand above. Before Thalrok could react, she grabbed his massive arm, her small hand firm despite his weight. "Move now!" she barked, pulling with surprising strength. Thalrok G snarled, voice ragged. "Leave me! I'm no concern of yours!" Arya's eyes flashed, unyielding. "You're a life. We don't abandon lives." She yanked harder, dragging him toward a cluster of rocks where her team was erecting a makeshift barricade of crates and twisted metal. Thalrok's vision swam, pain lancing through him as Arya and two soldiers hauled him behind cover. The humans moved fast, piling sandbags and wreckage to shield their position. Bombs still fell, one detonating 200 meters out, shaking the ground. Thalrok tried to pull away, claws scraping Arya's arm. "I said leave me," he roared, but his strength faltered, his body slumping. Arya ignored him, kneeling to inspect his wound. She tore open a med kit, her hands steady as she pressed a clotting pad against the gash. "Shut up and hold still," she said, voice calm but sharp. Thalrok stared, stunned by her audacity. The barricade buzzed with activity. Soldiers fired rifles into the smoke, their shots sporadic against the Kharon drone's relentless assault. A medic, a wiry man with blood-streaked gloves, passed Arya a bandage roll. She wrapped Thalrok's shoulder, her movements precise despite the chaos. "You're losing blood fast," she said, not looking up. "We need you alive." Thalrok's recorder, still active, caught his hoarse whisper. "Day 3, or 335 hours. Humans waste effort on a foe. Illogical." Yet as Arya worked, he noticed her team sharing their last oxy tanks, passing them to wounded comrades gasping in the thin air. One soldier, barely conscious, took a hit from a tank before passing it to another. Thalrok's eyes narrowed. Why share what they could keep? Arya signaled to her team. Get him to the triage tent. Two soldiers, one with a limp, lifted Thalrok onto a canvas stretcher. He growled, claws twitching, but his body refused to obey. They carried him 50 meters through the smoke to a makeshift camp, a cluster of torn tents lit by flickering lanterns. The ground vibrated with distant explosions, the Kharon's artillery still pounding 300 meters out. Thalrok lay on the stretcher, his cracked armor exposing more of his silver-gray skin, now slick with blood and sand. The humans had erected the camp in minutes, a fragile holdout against the onslaught. Medics darted between cots, bandaging wounds, injecting stims, their faces grim but focused. A young soldier, his face smudged with soot, offered Arya an oxy-tank. She shook her head, pointing to Thalrok. Give it to him. He's worse off. The soldier hesitated, glancing at the towering Dravari, then attached the tank's mask to Thalrok's face. Oxygen hissed, easing the burn in his lungs. Thalrok shoved the mask away, snarling. I don't need your pity. Arya grabbed his wrist, her grip like iron. It's not pity, it's survival. You die, we lose an asset. Her words were cold, practical, yet they stung. Thalrok's recorder whirred. They preserve even enemies. Madness. The triage tent was a whirlwind of motion. A medic stitched a soldier's leg, ignoring his screams. Another dragged a body bag to a corner, her shoulders slumped. Arya stood, barking orders. Prioritize the critical. We hold until dawn. Her team obeyed, their movements frantic but coordinated. Thalrok watched, his pain-dulled mind struggling to process their actions. A Kharon drone buzzed overhead, its laser cutting a nearby tent in half. Soldiers ducked, firing back, their shots grazing the drone's hull. Thalrok's claws dug into the stretcher. These humans should be fleeing, yet they fought, saved, and shared. It defied reason. Another explosion rocked the camp, 150 meters away, spraying sand over the tents. Arya crouched beside Thalrok, checking his bandage. You're stable for now, she said, wiping blood from her hands. Don't make me regret this. Thalrok stared, his golden eyes meeting hers. Why save me? He rasped. I'm your enemy. Arya's jaw tightened. Because out here we're all just trying to survive. Even you. She stood, rejoining her team as they reinforced the barricade. Thalrok's HUD flickered, estimating 12 minutes until Kharon's ground units hit. His recorder noted, their logic eludes me. They risk all for nothing. The humans worked without pause, dragging wounded to safety, sharing dwindling supplies. A soldier passed a water pouch to a comrade, who took a sip before handing it back. Another gave his jacket to a shivering medic. Thalrok's contempt wavered, a crack in his certainty. Why did they cling to each other in this hell? The Kharon's hum grew louder, their drones circling 500 meters out. Arya's voice rose again. Brace for impact. We're not done yet. Her team rallied, their faces etched with exhaustion but unbroken. Thalrok lay still, oxygen hissing through the mask he no longer fought. For the first time, he wondered if he'd misjudged them. The Red Ember's chaos faded, but Thalrok's doubts lingered, stirred by human defiance. Eden Prime would test their worth or seal their doom. At Oro 600 hours, Thalrok, still battered, his Giap Sin Hawk patched but functional at 65% integrity, boarded a human transport with Arya Kane's unit. The craft rattled through the void, its hull scarred from Kharon raids. Thalrok sat apart, his golden eyes scanning the soldiers crammed into the hold. They were weary, bloodied, yet their chatter filled the air. Jokes, plans, stories of home. He clutched his plasma lance, its hum steadying him. The humans' noise grated, but their survival on Red Ember gnawed at his certainty. His shoulder ached, bandaged by their hands, a debt he refused to acknowledge. The transport landed on Eden Prime at dusk, its surface a stark contrast to the Red Ember's desolation. Lush green spires rose from reclaimed wasteland, their bioluminescent vines casting a soft glow. Human-engineered forests stretched across the horizon, a testament to their efforts to heal what they'd once destroyed. Thalrok stepped onto the soil, his boots sinking into moss. He logged, Day 7, 1800 hours. Eden Prime, a human construct. They mimic creation, yet their nature remains destructive. His voice was steady, but the city's vibrancy unsettled him. Towers of recycled metal gleamed under starlight, their architecture fluid, almost organic. This was no Dravari precision, yet it held purpose. In the human camp, soldiers moved with newfound order. Private Luis Moreno, a young man with a quick grin, passed out ration bars, breaking his own in half to share with a limping comrade. "Eat up, we've got a long night," he said, tossing a piece to another. Thalrok watched, his claws twitching. The act was inefficient. Why weaken yourself for another? Yet the soldiers accepted the rations, their morale visibly lifting. Nearby, Dr. Mei Lin knelt in a med tent, her hands swift as she bandaged a captured Dravari prisoner. The enemy soldier, bound but alive, flinched under her touch. "Hold still," Mei said, voice calm. "You're no different from us right now." Thalrok's recorder whirred. They tend to foes, illogical yet organized. Area Kane led a night patrol, her silhouette sharp against Eden Prime's glowing skyline. Thalrok followed, his armor's camouflage active, keeping pace 20 meters behind. The team moved in tight formation, rifles ready, scanning for Kharon scouts. Aria's voice crackled over comms. "Eyes on the perimeter. No mistakes." Her soldiers responded with crisp nods, their steps synchronized. Thalrok noted their discipline, a stark shift from Red Ember's chaos. A soldier tripped on a root, but his partner caught him without a word, their unit unbroken. Thalrok's HUD pinged. Kharon's signatures 15 kilometers out, massing for an assault. He logged, "Humans show coordination, but it will not save them." The camp buzzed with activity, even at 2200 hours. Engineers reinforced barricades, stacking alloy plates with practiced efficiency. Medics hauled supplies, their faces etched with focus. A soldier calibrated a turret, its barrel humming as it locked onto distant targets. Thalrok shadowed Arya's patrol, observing their signals, hand gestures, glances, no wasted words. They swept a 2-kilometer radius, clearing debris that could hide Kharon drones. Arya paused, scanning the dark with a thermal scope. "Something's out there," she muttered. Her team tightened ranks, ready. Thalrok's claws flexed. Their alertness impressed him, but he dismissed it. The Kharon would crush this fragile order. In the med tent, Mei Lin worked on, now tending a human soldier with a shattered arm. She glanced at the Dravari prisoner, ensuring his bandages held. Thalrok stood at the tent's edge, unseen, his recorder active. They waste resources on captives, he noted, yet the human system intrigued him. Supplies were rationed, yet shared evenly. Wounded were prioritized, yet none were neglected. Luis Moreno appeared, offering May a water pouch. "You're running on fumes, Doc," he said. She took a sip, handed it back. "Save it for the others," she replied. Thalrok's eyes narrowed. Their selflessness defied his logic, yet it fueled their resilience. Arya's patrol returned at 2300 hours, reporting no contacts but heightened Kharon activity. She briefed her team under a glowing vine, her voice steady. "They'll hit us soon. Be ready." Soldiers nodded, checking weapons without complaint. Thalrok watched from the shadows, his armor blending with the foliage. Their unity was undeniable, their purpose clear. He recalled Red Ember, their scattered retreat, and now this, cohesion under pressure. His recorder captured his grudging note. They adapt, organize, but the Kharon will test their limits. The city's lights pulsed, a beacon of human defiance. Yet Thalrok saw only its fragility. A soldier approached Arya, reporting a faint Kharon signal 10 kilometers out. She nodded, dispatching a scout drone. "We hold Eden Prime," she said, her voice carrying to the team. "This is our line." Thalrok's claws tapped his lance. Their stand was bold but doomed. He moved through the camp, noting their preparations. Turrets charged, barricades reinforced, medics prepped for casualties. Luis Moreno laughed with a comrade, sharing a story of his mother's cooking on Earth. "She'd hate this ration crap," he said, tossing a bar. The ease of their bond irked Thalrok, yet it bound them tighter. Eden Prime's skyline glowed, its green towers a fragile hope against the coming storm. Thalrok's HUD flashed. Kharon forces closing to 8 kilometers. Estimated attack at dawn. He stood atop a ridge, watching the camp's relentless motion. Arya's voice echoed, directing a final sweep. "No one sleeps until we're secure!" Her team obeyed, their discipline holding. Thalrok's recorder word, "They prepare as if they can win." Foolish, yet purposeful. For the first time he hesitated, his contempt wavering. The humans' actions, sharing, healing, uniting, challenged his verdict. But the Kharon loomed, and Thalrok steeled himself. Their test was coming, and he would witness their fall, or something else entirely. Thalrok's hatred for humans wavered, pierced by their reckless compassion. In Eden Prime's fragile glow, a truth he despised began to stir. At Ordo 200 hours, Thalrok sat alone in a human tent, its canvas walls flickering under a single lantern's light. His Gypsyn hawk, patched to 70% integrity, groaned as he shifted, the ache in his shoulder a constant reminder of Red Ember. The camp outside buzzed quietly, soldiers moving beneath the starlit spires of the green city. Thalrok's golden eyes fixed on the flame, claws tracing his plasma lance. He recalled Earth's wounds, skies choked with ash, oceans turned toxic, cities crumbled to dust. Humanity's ruin was fact, burned into galactic archives he'd studied for centuries. Yet Eden Prime's lush towers, woven with bioluminescent vines, stood as proof they could rebuild. His recorder lay idle, his thoughts too knotted to log. Arya Kane entered, her silhouette sharp against the tent's glow. She sat across, wiping soot from her scarred face. "Still here?" she asked, voice steady. "Figured you'd vanish by now." Thalrok's eyes narrowed. "Why save me?" he demanded, voice edged with accusation. "I'm your enemy. I called you parasites." Arya met his gaze, unflinching. "A life's a life out here. Enemy or not, you're not just meat." Her words cut deep, precise as a blade. Thalrok's claws tightened. He remembered a frozen battlefield on Krithar 200 years ago. A Kharon blade had torn his side, blood freezing on his armor. His Dravari squad, bound by their coat of strength, left him in the snow, their forms retreating into the storm. "The weak fall," his commander had said, voice cold. Thalrok had crawled 3 kilometers, ice biting his wounds, to a derelict outpost. No one came for him. Survival was his alone. Humanity's mercy baffled him. Private Luis Moreno ducked in, his grin bright despite the hour. He tossed a ration bar to a passing soldier, then turned to Thalrok. "You keep staring like we're a riddle," he said, chuckling. "What's your deal?" Thalrok growled. "You destroy, yet you share. You save. Why preserve what you'll ruin?" Luis sat on a crate, shrugging. "We fight to stay human, lose kindness, lose hope, and we're just beasts." His words landed, simple yet sharp. Thalrok's recorder hummed, "Day 8, Choyu 10 hours. Humans hold to ideals that defy their flaws. Illogical, yet stubborn." A small figure slipped in, a girl no older than 6, blonde hair tangled, eyes wide with curiosity. She clutched a charred ration bar, its edges flaking. "Mister," she said softly. Your stomach growled. "Eat this." She offered the scrap, hands trembling. Thalrok froze, his HUD registering a spike in his vitals. "Emma," Arya said gently, "he's not used to kids." Emma tilted her head. "He looks hungry." Thalrok took the bar, his claw dwarfing her hand. He didn't eat, but the act seared into him. A child giving to an enemy. His recorder noted, "A human youngling shares with me. Reckless, senseless kindness." Thalrok's mind churned, Krethar's cold resurfacing. His squad had marched on, their silhouettes fading as he bled out in the snow. The Dravari code prized the collective, not the individual. He dragged himself through jagged ice, his armor sparking, breath ragged, until he reached the outpost's dim lights. No comrade waited, no hand offered aid. He'd survived by will alone, the memory hardening his disdain for weakness. Now these humans, flawed, chaotic, shared air, food, lives. Emma's small gesture, Arya's resolve, Luis's ease, they eroded his certainty. The lantern's light danced across his silver-gray skin, mirroring the conflict within. His contempt, once unyielding, fractured. He wrote, "They destroy yet rebuild. They hate yet save. I doubt." Arya stood, checking her rifle. "We're not perfect," she said, as if sensing his turmoil. "We broke Earth, yeah. Eden primes us trying to fix it." She nodded to the glowing spires outside, their vines pulsing like veins. Thalrok glanced out, the city's green a stark contrast to Krithar's desolation. Dravari worlds were built for war, not renewal. His people preserved strength. Humans chased redemption. His claws tapped the uneaten bar. "You try," he said, voice low. "Will it last?" Luis laughed, clapping Thalrok's shoulder, ignoring his flinch. "That's the thing, big guy. We don't know. We just Roswell." Emma giggled, mimicking Luis. Thalrok's eyes softened, just a moment. He logged, "Their hope is fragile, but sharp." The camp moved with purpose, soldiers checking weapons, medics readying supplies. Thalrok's HUD pinged. Kharon forces 5 kilometers out, poised for dawn. He followed Arya to the tent's flap, her words lingering, "We're fighting for this place." His mind battled duty and doubt. Then at 220 hours, a massive explosion shattered the night. The ground quaked, the lantern swinging wildly. Arya dove, pulling Emma to safety. Luis grabbed his rifle, shouting, "Kharon, they're here!" Thalrok's HUD flared, multiple detonations, 2 kilometers out. The camp surged into action, turrets whining alive. Thalrok gripped his lance, eyes blazing. The Kharon had come, and Eden Prime would burn. Yet as Arya rallied her team, Luis loaded his weapon, and Emma clutched her ration bag. He wondered, could these humans fight to the end? And did he want them to win? Eden Prime burned under Kharon's wrath, yet a single act would redefine humanity's worth. Thalrok, the Dravari who scorned them, would face a choice that shook the stars. At 6:15 hours, the first Kharon bombs slammed into the green city, their blast shattering the dawn. Towers of recycled metal buckled, their bioluminescent vines snapping like veins, spilling glowing sap across the rubble. Thalrok sprinted through the smoke, his Gyapsian hawk sparking at 60% integrity, his shoulder wound throbbing but ignored. He ran alongside Arya Kane's unit, their boots pounding the cracked earth, rifles blazing at the swarming drones overhead. The air screamed with plasma bolts, the ground trembling as buildings collapsed in cascades of glass and steel. Thalrok's golden eyes scanned the chaos, his plasma lance humming, useless against the onslaught. The humans fought on, their shouts a mix of defiance and desperation, their fragile city crumbling. Arya led the charge, her voice cutting through the din. "Hold the plaza! Protect the civilians!" Her team, battered but resolute, formed a ragged line around a shattered square, shielding survivors fleeing the wreckage. Thalrok followed, his massive form weaving through debris, dodging a laser that scorched the ground 5 meters away. His HUD flashed. Kharon ground units 1 kilometer out, drones tightening their arc. The humans' turrets sputtered, overwhelmed, their barrels glowing red from overuse. A soldier fell beside Thalrok, cut down by a drone's blade, blood pooling on the moss. Thalrok stepped over the body, his recorder silent. He'd seen their chaos, their kindness, now their end. Yet their refusal to break gnawed at him. Through the smoke, he spotted a small figure. Emma, the girl from the tent, her blonde hair matted with ash, trapped beside a Kharon bomb embedded in the rubble. Its core pulsed, a red light blinking faster. 10 seconds to detonation. She clawed at the debris, her cries drowned by the roar of battle. Thalrok froze, his eyes locking on her. Arya's voice crackled over comms. "Fall back! It's gonna blow!" Her team retreated, dragging wounded, their line breaking under the Kharon's advance. Thalrok's claws tightened on his lance. He could run, survive, and report humanity's failure to the Council. His Dravari instincts screamed to let the weak perish. But Emma's terrified eyes met his and something snapped. "If there's anything worth dying for," he muttered, voice low, "it's a life not yet lost." He charged forward, his massive frame barreling through the smoke. Arya shouted, "Thalrok, no!" but he ignored her, leaping over a fallen beam. The bomb's timer hit 7 seconds. He reached Emma, scooping her tiny form into his arms, her trembling body light against his scarred armor. He curled around her, his Gyap-Sin hawk flaring as he shielded her completely. The bomb detonated at 06:16 hours, a blinding white flash swallowing them both. The shockwave tore through the plaza, hurling debris and silencing the battle for a heartbeat. Arya's team ducked, the air thick with ash and heat. When the dust settled, the humans crept forward, rifles raised, expecting annihilation. In the crater's center, they found Emma, curled and shaking but alive, cradled in Thalrok's charred arms. His Gyap-Sin hawk was a blackened husk, his silver-gray skin scorched, his golden eyes unseeing. He was gone, his body a shield that absorbed the blast's fury. Arya knelt, her hands trembling as she checked Emma's pulse. The girl whimpered, clutching Thalrok's cracked armor. "He saved me," she whispered. A soldier, Luis Moreno, pulled a scorched data slate from Thalrok's belt, its screen flickering with his final log. Luis read aloud, his voice breaking. Day 8, 15 hours. Humans are a paradox. They burn worlds, yet rebuild them. They wage war, yet save strangers. I despise them, but their hope. It's a fire that doesn't fade. If I, who hated, can choose to save one, they are worthy. The words hung heavy, the team silent amid the wreckage. Arya stood, wiping ash from her face, her eyes hard but glistening. "He saw us," she said. "Saw us." The Kharon drones retreated, their assault faltering as human reinforcements arrived, their ships breaking the dawn sky. Emma clung to Arya, her small hands gripping the captain's jacket. The medics swarmed, tending survivors while engineers doused fires in the green towers. Luis pocketed the slate, his grin gone, replaced by a quiet resolve. "He wasn't one of us," he said, "but he chose us." The team worked on, salvaging what remained of Eden Prime, their movements steady despite the loss. Thalrok's body was carried to a quiet grove, laid beneath a glowing vine. No ceremony, just respect, a human trait he'd come to understand too late. Years passed and Emma grew, her childhood marked by that day. She stood before crowds on rebuilt Eden Prime, now a beacon of human resilience, telling the story of the Dravari who saved her. "He called us parasites," she said, her voice clear, "but he saw our heart. He became our shield." Her words spread, a legend across the galaxy, whispered in camps and carved into the city's new spires. The Dravari Council received her tale, their silence a concession to Thalrok's final truth. Humanity's fire, dangerous, reckless, kind, had changed an enemy into a savior. Eden Prime's glow endured, its green towers rising higher, a testament to the humans Thalrok died for. His log, preserved, became a relic, its words a bridge between species. The Kharon's threat lingered, but humanity fought on, their hope unbroken. Emma, now a leader, carried Thalrok's lesson. Even in war's shadow, a single act of mercy could outshine destruction. The last Dravari, as she named him, was no longer just a warrior. He was proof that even the hardest heart could choose to save a fragile life, and that humanity's flaws were matched only by their defiant, impossible light.